ever-expanding, unstoppable fog of war that fences in the simulation. Like a shrinking arena, gathering all the characters towards the end game, keeping the players away from the edge of the simulation. They are basically glasses, virtual glasses, that if you wear them, they amplify your confirmation bias. So the more players wear them in the book, it changes their worldview.
They would call it a good Black Mirror episode. And it has been keeping me up at night, this question. What do these numbers on Vivian's die mean?
Vivian Amberville has this 24-sided D&D Dungeons & Dragons die that she keeps rolling. It's like an ordinary plastic die with painted numbers on it, from 1 to 24. Every time she rolls this die, reality shows her clues about her current situation, hidden within the numbers. And void spawn and all sorts of eldritch Lovecraftian creatures, they live in the abyss of reality, in the back rooms of reality, beyond this dark door. A dark door is the door between life and death in the series, and they're very attracted to the light of human consciousness.
This is terrifying. Terrifying. What's your lifetime dream?
To live the world in a better state than I have found it.
Your biggest fear?
Not living up to my highest potential.
Your key to success?
Detachment from all outcomes.
Hello and welcome. We are joined today by an author who needs no introduction, the lovely and infinitely talented Louise Blackwick. Louise, thank you so much for agreeing to this interview and for letting us film in your home.
Thank you so much for accommodating me.
For those of you who don't know, Louise Blackwick is the author of the extremely popular dark fantasy series Vivian Amberville. She is also recognized as the creator of a new literary genre called neon science fiction. But perhaps the most iconic thing about Louise Blackwick is the fact that she is a Jungian author. Her body of work is distinguished by the presence of Jungian concepts, which are based on the work of psychoanalyst Carl Jung. She combines these concepts seamlessly with popular genres like science fiction and fantasy. Louise, you have so much to be proud of.
Thank you.
Let me start off. Congratulations on the release of the Book of Chaos a few months ago. Second installment in the Vivian Amberville series, isn't it?
The second book, yes. The first book is called The Weaver of Odds.
And those two are out of a total of 5 or 6 books?
5 books, yeah. And then the entire series should be neatly wrapped up.
All right. Can you tell our listeners what the Vivian Amberville series is about? Like, try to give it your best elevator pitch.
Oh, elevator pitch. All right. Vivian Amberville is this epic dark fantasy book series about a girl whose thoughts can twist and manipulate the fabric of reality.
Whoa, that was one fast elevator. What else can you tell us about the plot? Let's go a bit deeper. What sort of things can a new reader find in the universe of your books?
Well, Vivian is this teenage girl who very literally falls through a hole in reality. Beyond the fabric of reality, she discovers this new grim fantasy world called non-existence. And in this new world, a group of people called weavers have figured out a way to manipulate the destiny of every being in the cosmos. They do so by weaving threads of influence into the very fabric of reality. And yet, the Guild of Weavers very quickly find out that they cannot control the fate of this one mysterious new girl called Vivian Amberville.
Wow, that sounds like a hero in the making.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call Vivian Amberville a hero.
Oh, what makes you say that?
Well, let's just say I have this itsy-bitsy tiny little hunch.
I guess you know what you're talking about. Anyway, readers have praised Vivian Amberville for its extremely vast and complex world. Would you mind quickly telling our listeners something about the world of your fantasy novels?
Sure. The world of Vivian Amberville is, as you say, extremely complex. They are vast fantasy worlds, huge cast of characters, each one with their own unique, complex character arc. They are knotted time loops, nightmarish pocket realities, insane magic systems, and some pretty heavy-duty elements of cosmic horror as well. There's also politics, philosophies, 2 or 3 religions, I believe, and something akin to 10 different fictional languages. Oh, and a very rich tapestry of symbolism and themes as well.
Excuse me, 10 different languages? How did you even find the expertise to create so many?
Well, I'm also trained as a linguist. I studied Old English, Norse, Proto-German. Was all part of my bachelor in literatures. It took me over 20 years to create the world of Vivian Amberville as it is now, including its many different languages and dialects.
Wow, that's really impressive. Have you always wanted to be a writer, to make a living writing stories?
Yeah, I pretty much dreamt of being a writer ever since I was a wee lass.
And yet I've been told that you've had a career before and that you've only been writing professionally for about a decade now. What did you used to do before you became a full-time author?
I used to work in peace building and peacekeeping as a civilian SME.
SME? What does that mean?
It means subject matter expert. It's like a civilian who is specialized in military topics. But that was more than a decade ago. That career is very much long behind me now.
What made you want to give that up, that career?
Well, a really, really close friend of mine, he got shot. He got shot dead in Kabul, and he was the only one who at the time really believed that I could be a writer.
Ooh, that's quite the canon event that you have there. I'm so very sorry about your loss.
Thank you. No, not long after his death, I quit my career and I started grinding away at the keyboard, writing, experimenting, learning the craft. I started immersing myself in Jung and Hermeticism and alchemy and weaving a rich tapestry of themes into, every single one of my stories. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, basically, about the craft and become the best writer that I could be. And 7 years in, I hit a small patch of success, I would say. So here I am.
I'm very sure that your friend is watching you from above and that he's feeling very proud of what you've accomplished. You've mentioned using a rich tapestry of themes, and I've read your books, and I've seen it too in your stories. And I would say, as an author, as Louise Blackwick, you're quite known for this. You use this in multiple works of fiction, like the psychedelic novella The Underworld Rhapsody, or the sci-fi novel 5 Stars, or even the short story Jump into the Abyss. Which would you say are the strongest themes in Vivian Amberville?
The strongest themes. There's love, there's death, there's friendship, of course, there's family and duty and purpose. But the most talked about themes, I would say, is the dichotomy between free will and determinism. It's also a subject I'm deeply, deeply passionate about.
I can see, but free will versus determinism. What does that mean? Can you explain that a little bit?
You can find this dichotomy in books like Dune Messiah, for instance, or the German TV series Dark, if anyone has ever heard of that, or the Japanese anime Attack on Titan. So in many of these narratives, the protagonist either has complete free will or their destiny is entirely on rails. They either have freedom to completely break the timeline and, their life is predetermined and they cannot escape their fate. And while I cannot spoil anything about the plot of my books, as this is probably one of the biggest mysteries of the Vivian Amberville series. I can reveal one thing. With Vivian Amberville, I tried to marry the two concepts. I tried to marry the free will and the determinism and get them to coexist, so to say. And Vivian's destiny is both determined and undetermined. It is both at the same time. Readers will see what I mean once the fifth and final book is published.
I guess we will have to wait a while for the fifth book to be released. But one of the things that you just mentioned about determined, undetermined, it reminds me very much of the die in the Book of Chaos. One would say rolling a die is random, yet it sometimes seems that it's not. And it has been keeping me up at night, this question, wondering, what do these numbers on Vivian's die mean? Why does the number 23 show up so much? And for the people who haven't yet read your books, can you take us with you a bit? How does this work?
Sure. Well, you mentioned Vivian's die. Okay, so Vivian Amberville has this 24-sided D&D Dungeons and Dragons die that she keeps rolling, right? It's like an ordinary plastic die with painted numbers on it from 1 to 24. And every time she rolls this die, reality shows her clues about her current situation hidden within the numbers. It's kind of difficult to explain this unless you follow the story. But for example, the number 23 shows up a lot on this die of Vivian. And as of now, we don't know why that is. Sometimes the die spins endlessly and without ever setting on a number. But yeah, her die can show her things that are yet to happen. And indeed, it made readers wonder how much of Vivian's life is predetermined.
And it wonders me to this day, and I'm looking forward to reading that in your next book. You're also known for building really insane magic systems. And your latest book in the Vivian Amberville series, The Book of Chaos, has elevated this to extraordinary new heights. Can you tell our listeners more about it?
Yes, in Vivian Amberville, the magic system is predicated on the power of imagination. It's something I like to call weaving, or the ability to affect reality from a distance.
So, weaving is basically the word you use for magic.
It's sort of like that, yeah, maybe a little bit more complicated than just magic. It's more like mathematics or maybe just alchemy with its own rules and limitations. There are two magic systems in place, especially in the second book. There's regular weaving, which can affect only objective reality, like, physical objects and people, things you can see and touch by hand. The other one is chaos weaving, and that can only affect subjective reality, such as ideas, concepts, and abstractions.
What do you mean by concepts and abstractions?
Well, like things you cannot touch by hand, abstract things like ideas. For example, there is the odds weaver, Vivian Amberville. She can manipulate luck, odds, circumstances, and it's kind of like a die. She would have a field day at the casino. Another character with this power is Wolfgar, the pain pusher. He can remove, store, and control physical pain. So Wolfgar, let's say, could very literally push his toothache into you. So his subjective experience of that pain, of that toothache, becomes your pain. Another chaos weaver, another one with that power, is Jar, and he is what we call a shadow stealer, which means he can strip both objects and even people of their shadow permanently.
Oh, wow. I'm starting to feel a toothache myself now, and I'm even looking where my shadow went. But what happens if your shadow disappears?
That's a very good question, actually, because your physical body is still there, right? It's but it no longer casts a shadow. So, in other words, it's no longer anchored in physical reality. But so far in my books, I've only shown what happens if Jar steals your shadow, and that is that you no longer have an identity, a purpose, a will to live. But there is a lot more to being a shadow stealer than that. In future installments, I'm going to explore what really happens to you.
All right, I'm really looking forward to that. Just quick recap on what we've seen so far. Vivian is the odds weaver. Wolfgar is the pain pusher, and Jar is the shadow stealer. I've read the book. As far as I can tell, there is 8 chaos weavers in total, right? Who are the remaining 5?
Yes, there are indeed 8 chaos weavers, well remembered. There's the Thunderbringer Antoon, who can pluck sound waves out of thin air and store them inside containers. And sometimes he will just move certain creepy sounds around just to scare people off, like a squeaky door. It's very funny.
But why is he called the Thunderbringer?
Oh, that's a funny story, really. Because he stole the sound of thunder once and placed it inside someone's body completely by accident. And the sound ended up shattering every bone in their victim's body. So there's that.
Oh no, this is terrifying. Let's get back to the Chaos Weavers. There were 8 of them. Please go on.
Right. Then there's the Void Weaver Allspice, who can absorb, hold, and release physical darkness. And darkness is a very, very important element in Vivian Amberville. As we have seen, this is the only defensive power we've seen so far among the Chaos Weavers. There's also 2 reality shifters, Euresne and Circense, and they can create shifts in gravity, but also shifts in perception.
Oh yes, I remember how amazing it was to read about that. Let me quickly describe this for my listeners. Jure and Circe, that's of course short for Euresne and Circense, they are conjoined twins and 2 sisters sharing one body, basically. And if one of the 2 girls looks to the left, while the other looks to the right, they can create a reality shift. And basically, they can flip reality a full 90 degrees on its side, like you would flip a cube. They can even turn reality upside down. It's really spectacular. And okay, spoiler alert, they are actually doing that in the book at a very, very tense moment.
Yes, it is spectacular. And that's a really accurate description, by the way, with flipping reality, like you flip a cube 90 degrees on its side. Well, yes, there's a lot of that in this book. And the last of the Chaos Weavers I would also like to mention is a character called Gold, like the metal. Gold is what we call a concept breaker, and she can reduce the physical world to mere concepts and abstractions.
And it appears that she is a true fan favorite. What can you tell us more about Gold?
Yes, well, you see, Gold suffers from dissociative identity disorder, so like split personality disorder. Some people know it as that. She was probably one of the most challenging characters to write, actually.
Because she has 4 split identities.
Yes, she has 4 split identities, and each identity has its own backstory, powers, speech patterns, mannerisms. If you're a writer, you have to deal with a lot of that, distinguish between them. Well, writing Gold was like writing essentially 4 different characters, all rolled into one.
Wait a minute, Louisa. I think I'm having a bit of an epiphany about the Chaos Weavers. Yeah, hear me out. So, Gold is a concept breaker because she herself is split up inside, split identities, broken identities. Vivian, on the other hand, needs to control luck and outcomes because what we know from the previous book, she has an anxiety disorder. Am I onto something here?
You are definitely onto something. That's pretty much spot on. It's actually the same for all the 8 chaos weavers. It is the reason they are chaos weavers, because they're not normal, let's say. Their mental challenges are the primary source of their powers, and also the way the powers manifest. So each magic power is uniquely modeled after their mind map, indeed.
Wow, this is truly unique, and I would say even little bit insane magic system. One of the most original magic systems I've ever seen in a work of fantasy. And I people often compare you to Brandon Sanderson, another titan of fantasy. But personally, I find your magic system is more organically woven into the story, and particularly into the themes of your story. What do you think about that?
Thank you so much. Yeah, it always makes me somewhat uncomfortable when people compare me to such a titan of literature as Brandon Sanderson. I feel really flattered, really. I actually refer to Vivian Amberville's magic system in the plural, as in magic systems, because there are at least 2 main magic systems. There's weaving and there's chaos weaving. And these 2 are in themselves split into multiple types of magics. Throughout the Vivian Amberville saga, weaving finds its way into thoughts, symbols, words, materials, weapons, cool blades, and even living creatures sometimes.
Speaking about living creatures, you mean Cap, the hole in the wall. And he's not just a pet, right? Cap is really a sentient, shape-shifting, non-human character, and oh my, that's quite a mouthful to say that out loud. Who follows Vivian on her journey through area, is a side companion every time there. What inspired this character?
What inspired Cap the hole in the wall? I would say Cap is the purest representation of the innocent archetype.
The innocent archetype. Well, we're getting towards your Jungian side, I see. Can you explain what that means?
The innocent archetype is a Jungian archetype we often associate with children. And just like Cap, children are vessels of formless potential. They believe they can become whatever they set their mind to: doctor, engineer, astronaut, president, and so on. When we are small, our imagination just runs wild, and we believe there is no limit to what we can become. And in the books, that's his power. That is what Cap is. He is the hole in the wall. He can take any shape he can imagine. He can shape shift into anything and everything, so long as he can imagine it. So he is basically the embodiment of the raw power of imagination, the ultimate innocent archetype, because he can become anything. And much like a child, Cap is also insecure and seeks the constant validation of his peers. And in truth, he is a creature of extraordinary power, capable of embodying that which he imagines, but he is also very shy and just much like a child.
Well, he's definitely one of my favorite characters in your series. And speaking of magic systems, more in your latest book, the Book of Chaos, I believe you introduce a new way of, let's say, robbing people of their free will. We've spoken about it before. Can you tell us something about what that means?
Yes, that's true. Indeed, weavers are no longer the top dog, I would say. In the second book, there is this other group of people called Scribe. It's a shadow guild, really, and they are allegedly more powerful than the weavers.
What can you tell us about them Scribes?
Well, scribes can completely rewrite history, and they do so by writing things true in their special reality alter ink. So they just write it down and it happens. They also manage this infinite cosmic library that contains pretty much everyone's pre-written life and destiny. It's like a library of books where each book, it's someone's entire life story, and each story is each destiny. Yeah, it's pre-written by them, by the scribes. So for most people, there is no free will because their life, their whole story, their destiny is decided before they are born, and it's quite wild, really. I really like the scribes, and you're gonna meet quite a lot of them, maybe even in the main cast. And there's also, as you mentioned, multiple magic systems. There's also another top dog. They're the reframers. Reframers are people specialized in putting words into other people's heads and watching those exact words take over someone's mind and personality completely. It's kind of like Inception or The Voice, in Dune, but it happens instantly, and it's somewhat different, and the effects are permanent.
Whoa, that means that if I do a quick count, we have now 4 powerful types of people employing different magic systems, I would say. So is it indeed a different magic system compared to the Weavers?
Well, I would say yes and no. It is a different manifestation of the same magic, the same system, and could be called a different magic system, but their power is still centered very much on imagination, because words, still imagination, writing things out, still imagination. The central theme of Vivian Amberville's magic system is that imagination is king, It is key, and it is door at the same time you walk through it. It is all about imagination in the Vivian Amberville series. All magic systems are predicated on imagination.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. It's very insightful. And another thing that plays a role in the Book of Chaos and is about Vivian's power to loop through time and rewrite certain events in her life. Is there a message in your book that you want readers to grasp here?
Yeah, well, if you can loop through time, then go right ahead. No, that's not the message. There are quite a few messages from Vivian Amberville, but the most important one would have to be your circumstances don't define your life. No matter how terrible your conditions, how dreadful your situation, you remain the creator of your own life, the master of your surroundings, just like Vivian Amberville. You are a true weaver of odds if you think you are. Your circumstances don't define your life, your actions do.
Wow, thank you for this message. I think this is something that listeners you can take home. And you mentioned also earlier on in our talk your cosmic horror influences. And as I understand it, Lovecraft was a huge inspiration for you. There are some pretty gnarly elements of cosmic horror in the Book of Chaos, I would say.
Yes, there are indeed some gnarly elements of cosmic horror. I love cosmic horror. There are dark things in one word, and void spawn, and all sorts of eldritch Lovecraftian creatures in Vivian Amberville. And in the book series, they live in the abyss of reality, in the back rooms of reality. They reside beyond this dark door. A dark door is the door between life and death in the series. So they creep there, they're in the shadows, and they're very attracted to the light of human consciousness. So there's some element to that.
It's all about the dark and the light. We'll get back to that in a second. But this back rooms of reality, that I love that phrase. It pretty much describes your stories to a T.
Yes, I love that phrase too, actually. It's quite fitting. It do describes. They tell me that I write stories from the back rooms of reality. It's actually a very funny phrase.
Yeah. Speaking of creating genres, stories, you are the creator of neon science fiction. I'm sorry, I almost put you on on the wrong genre, I would say. Neon science fiction.
Yes, wouldn't have been nice to be the creator of science fiction. No, neon science fiction, yes.
What is it? Can you tell us what is neon science fiction?
Well, yeah, the answer to that is pretty complicated. I wrote quite extensively about neon science fiction, what it is, what it looks like. There is even a summary of it on my website and on the publisher's website as well. But in short, neon science fiction is a new and hybrid genre that combines elements of nanopunk, cyber noir, and post-cyberpunk. And of course, it's a little bit more than that, but that's what it is in essence.
Okay, and from what I've been reading, 5 stars, your previous novel before you released the Book of Chaos was the first. Since you also created the genre, you did that with this book, I would say. It was published in 2021, 5 stars, just before the advent of AI and in the middle of the COVID pandemic. The book was critically acclaimed for its postmodern interpretation of, the old Orwellian AI technologies. We will all remember that, like virtual glasses that feed into your cognitive bias. And I'm getting to my question. Given everything that's currently going on in the world, like Elon Musk going into and out of politics, and the birth of AI as a concept and a tool for everyone, isn't this novel more of a prophecy than a work of fiction? People ask me that. How did you come up with the idea for 5 stars?
Yes, well, I really did not have any idea that it was going to be almost predicting that much. Yes, it is very prophetic indeed. And how did I come up with the idea? It all started with the question, what if humanity as a whole knew the world was ending in 5 days and couldn't do anything about it? So somewhere after that, 5 stars was born, neon science fiction were born, and yes, indeed, it was critically acclaimed, and here we are.
Well, at the time of writing, who knew the world might have been ending in 5 days, 5 months with the pandemic. People confined to their homes. It's crazy. So, what can you tell us more about 5 stars?
5 stars, yes, it's another isekai book. Isekai means that you get transported somewhere. Usually a character gets transported to a new world. And Vivian is an isekai book. 5 stars is an isekai book, although you don't know it right off the bat. I wrote it indeed during the pandemic. The novel, 5 stars, is set in a brutal, violent, video game type of world. It is ruled by the Neon God.
The Neon God. That sounds ominous and yeah, even a bit festive at the same time. Can you explain to us who or what is the Neon God?
Sure. Well, in this book, in 5 stars, the Neon God is a psychotic, hive mind, artificial intelligence that has taken over the planet. And together with his very cruel and completely unfair algorithm, called Algo in the book, the Neon God rules over the city of New Vega Al Nasser. It's a futuristic city. And it is all ruling in a world that is expected to end in 5 days. So in this dark world, people need to compete for gold stars, which is this impossible to obtain so-called merit-based currency, in order to escape the mysterious, unstoppable, dark fog of war that is slowly erasing reality. And it is much like, like the internet it's like a video game type of world. You have to collect something. But anyway, our point of view character is a starving mother with her amputee, prematurely born baby daughter, and the mother plus 4 other characters are competing against this rigged AI system, trying to gather these 5 gold stars, which are absolutely crazy hard to obtain. in order to secure a seat on the very, very last shuttle leaving the planet. They're trying to survive. And they have to earn these 5 gold stars all before the world ends in 5 days, erased by this dark fog of war. There's a reality-eating darkness.
I see that 5, the number 5, is a very important number in the book. But I would like to step a little bit towards one of the strongest themes in 5 stars, which is, I think, motherhood. The relationship between Aurora, the main character, and her baby was both wholesome and gut-wrenching. The relationship permeated the entire plot. So, what inspired you to write a mother point of view character?
What inspired it was probably Ellen Ripley and Newt from the Aliens movie franchise, their mother and child archetypes. Ripley's courage stems from her role as a mother figure and a mother archetype and protector. And I was always very impressed by their dynamic and the strength of their bond. And in 5 stars, I wanted to push the boundaries of what a mother would do to keep her prematurely born baby alive, especially during an ongoing apocalypse. And Aurora and her amputee baby, who she conveniently names Lucky Star, they're both survivors, just like Ripley and Newt. And nothing is more pure, more reckless, more ruthless than a mother protecting her teeny tiny baby, especially in a time like an apocalypse. And I wanted my reader to see the world through their eyes. And since it was written in the pandemic, I wanted readers to explore what we all felt collectively as, as humanity, completely helpless.
Wow, this very deep theme for this book. And I've read the book too, of course, and I would like to congratulate you on this book. I found it one of the most profound works of fiction that I've read in a long, long time. And sure, there are twists and turns and fast-paced action from start to finish, and there is some truly dark stuff in the book as well. But what struck me the most is, and I'm even a little bit ashamed to admit, that I got quite emotional at the end. And I'm not even just talking a little tear, but I was kind of crying uncontrollably for like 5 minutes straight.
Where are you now, really?
Yeah, is this shocking to hear for you? I mean, that a grown man has shed tears reading this book?
No, not at all. Don't worry, you're good. I'd say it's actually the average 5 stars reading experience. My editor, shout out to the incredible Richard Kingsley, he calls me on a regular basis to tell me this book still haunts his dreams. I fear he might even have needed therapy after reading it.
Oh no, then he and I together. The last part of the book, and I don't want to say about, baby Lucky Star, it haunts my dreams as well. And I found it absolutely incredible story, and not just fun but profound. Actually, what does it remind me of? Do androids dream of electric sheep? From Blade Runner, and Neuromancer, and the short story I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Well, it's funny you say that, because 5 stars was inspired by all these works. And indeed, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Blade Runner was also the aesthetic of this entire novel. It's also why I named the genre neon science fiction as a homage to Blade Runner, although the genre is relatively different than what Blade Runner is. But yes, indeed, the neon god, the psychotic AI that is tormenting these 5 characters, these 5 characters in the story, was indeed heavily influenced by the Allied Master Computer, or AM in short. And for those of you who know, he's the evil AI from Harlan Ellison's short story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Indeed, and albeit I think only 6 pages long, it's It's a horrifying short story, really, really interesting. Recommended read, just like 5 stars itself, of course. And I would like to step a little bit towards the darkness and the light. I mentioned this before. We've been talking about it. It is a repeating thing in your books. The dark is something that appears both in Vivian, in the Book of Chaos, and also in 5 stars. But the concept, I feel, is a bit different between the two novels. I would ask you, how did you come up with the dark, and what is its overarching meaning?
Oh my, that's a really really tough question. I'll try to answer this on a more abstract level. Just in order not to spoil potential plot lines for both the Book of Chaos and for 5 stars. Yes, indeed, well spotted. Darkness and light is permeating everything I write. But the dark or dark spell in Vivian Amberville's universe particularly is used as a Jungian concept inspired by the shadow archetype. The inner shadow is everything we repress, everything we suppress as humans within our subconscious. And this shadow grows and grows and grows the more we refuse to integrate it. And because Vivian Amberville's magic fantasy world presents a magic system that is completely predicated on imagination, it was, of course, only a matter of time before the dark side of our imagination would also reveal itself as well. Or I sometimes like to call it the dark behind the eyes. Imagination and its dark side, weavers and chaos weavers.
The Force and the dark side of the Force.
Yes, very, very much like that, yeah. But in my sci-fi novel 5 stars, however, the dark is used with a slightly different purpose than it was used in Vivian Amberville. In 5 stars, the dark is like this living, ever-expanding, unstoppable fog of war that fences in the simulation, like a shrinking arena, gathering all the characters towards the end game. If you've played video games, like this battle arena type that it just shrinks and shrinks, gathering all the players, and otherwise it just kills you, it erases you. And the dark is also used as a deterrent, keeping the players away from the edge of the simulation, sort of like a collision box almost. Another interpretation of the dark is predicated on, of course, Jungian principles, particularly the dark that lives in your soul or the monster in your heart. In 5 stars, the dark forces characters to act upon their darker impulses and become more violent and primal. Sometimes people get high of the dark and they mix it in their foods and they become more primal and violent. And other times you just get exposed to it and you become like that. It makes the simulation world, more cruel and more disturbing. And for the neon god who's watching it all and judging it all, more entertaining. I also created the dark as a symbolic antagonist to the main villain of the story, which is the neon god. Ultimately, as a hive mind, low empathy, artificial consciousness, the neon god is, well, pretty much mortally afraid of being put in the dark.
Wait a second. How can this almighty neon god type of creature be afraid of the dark?
Well, okay, just picture this for a moment. If the internet would suddenly become a conscious entity, yeah? What would you say its greatest fear would be?
Tough question. Let me put myself a bit in the shoes of the internet. Well, I guess if I were the internet, my greatest fear would be to be, unplugged.
There you go, yes, precisely that. So yes, indeed, if the internet could truly think for itself, it would, I expect, probably be afraid of oblivion. So in other words, being put in the dark. So yeah, the neon god shares in that fear. It is mortally afraid of being erased, of being put in the dark and being unplugged permanently.
I can imagine then that would be his end, his demise. Let's talk a bit about algo, the algorithm that is fueling, governing the neon god in 5 stars. Why did you decide to make it so random and at the same time not so random?
Yeah, this brings back to what we talked about, the die being random and not random. And I really like free will and determinism. Well, I would say that my frustrations with social media algorithms has led me to create it like this way. So I modeled the neon god algorithm, algo, on social media algorithms, and I would even say the internet as a whole. And I indeed try to instill a sense of randomness to its rules, because it does feel like that sometimes. So for example, the neon god can mute someone for saying the wrong word, like motherboard, screwdriver. These are all words the neon god finds offensive for some reason. He also is incredibly against expressions of emotion. And when characters sing the anthem of hope, which is a very brutal, beautiful song, but it's also a very sad song, the anthem of humanity, the anthem of hope, is very much against it, will obliterate anyone who sings this song in the book. So this is obviously this random algorithm, how arbitrary it all feels. This is an obvious commentary on censorship and the way social media platforms increase user engagement by creating drama and arbitrarily punishing people. And your post, it's not going to go up. That post, well, but the other one not. And, well, I also, you get 5 stars, you get 20 likes on a post, you get pushed up, pushed down. Very arbitrary. And I also have jurors in 5 stars, and they also play an important role in this too. They often lay traps and trick people into taking a certain action in the hope of a reward, more likes, more gold stars, or less gold stars.
I can see definitely what you mean in this. But for the people who are unfamiliar with your book, what are the jurors?
Yes, jurors are non-player characters or NPCs, and they exist in the simulation world to bait you into doing things that you don't really want to do, to push the limits, to kind of instill a bit of chaos. They can make you lose gold stars if you listen to them. Sometimes if you do listen to them, you can end up dead or worse, or you can even win the game like that, who knows?
That reminds me very much of an internet troll.
It's exactly like an internet troll, yes, but they are a little bit less malicious, but they're very much baiting you into doing things you don't want to do.
This is a great story, a revolutionary, real good, as you say, commentary on social media and the internet. Also, in your novel, you play with the virtual visors and how they can determine how reality appears to you, and that is even after you stop wearing them. Can you tell us a bit more about those?
Yes, virtual visors, indeed, that's right, you are. They're also called verivism visors, like true sight visors. And it's a very high concept item that I created specifically for 5 stars. They are basically glasses, virtual glasses, that if you wear them, they amplify your confirmation bias. So the more players wear them in the book, the more they determine their worldview. It changes their worldview. So in time, if you keep wearing them and keep wearing them, they only show you things that play into your confirmation bias, the more what you want to see.
But they are not always true to life.
No, they are not always true to life. They're not. Since the world of 5 stars is essentially a fake world, a simulation type of world, these glasses sometimes show you fragments of truth beyond the scope of the simulation. For example, an NPC, a non-player character, may not show up on the virtual glasses at all. Why? Because since they're technically not real outside the simulation, they're only in the simulation, so that you might not see them on the glasses. But some other things that are not in the simulation, you might see them. So it's always plays with your perception and with your bias. And this incongruity creates a civil war, a war of ideas, so to say, between the people who see the world through these virtual glasses and those who blind themselves willingly, trying to cling on to the idea of physical reality. I wanted to make this conflict interesting by showing that both ways of perceiving reality are equally true and untrue. I mean, it's a simulation, so everyone is equally blind as far as I'm concerned. But this is why the Neon Gods news broadcast is so very important to the world of 5 stars. News broadcast, fake news, what is real, what is not real. Is that real? Is that accurate? Is that there? Is that not there? So the lies and the truths, the punishments and the rewards, the ubiquitous black screens that spy on the players, and the Neon God uses them to look at everyone, to be their judge of everyone. All these things fit into the propaganda machine through which the Neon God essentially bends humanity to its will.
Wow, what a great answer. I see how passionate you are about this story, how deeply you have been thinking about it, putting this all together. By the way, I really love the talk with you, Louisa. It's really great. And what I also noticed in 5 stars, you have a group of characters that you call kinikoi. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And they designate people or a person who has become cynical, nihilistic, embittered. What inspired the name for you?
Oh, I didn't invent the name. The name kinikoi comes from Old Greek, and it very literally translates to cynic. So kinikois are players inside the simulation that display an attitude of cynicism, hardened bitterness, idleness, purposelessness, nihilism, so these kind of things.
So the name of the character group represents something. And I noticed that there is more that is represented. And for instance, the title of the novel, it's called 5 Stars, but the stars are also an acronym, STARS. And they represent the characters in the simulation, 5 characters, important number, and each letter of stars is also the first letter of the name of the characters. What can you tell us about the meaning behind their names?
Yes, each letter of STARS has indeed a meaning. Stella, S for Stella first, means star in Spanish. T, Tumai, it means full moon in Turkish, and just like the moon, it has a hidden side, a dark side, just like the character. A, Aurora, stands in the middle. It was inspired by the Aurora Borealis, and that invokes awe when you see it. And Aurora carries the awe and the hope of the group, which takes the shape of her very tiny baby daughter that she holds with her. Then it comes R, Rolf. It means famous wolf in German. So he is the wolf among sheep type of character, but not in the way you expect. And then there's S, Sorano, which means of the sky in Japanese. And this is also a symbolic name to the character, but I don't want to reveal much more about her fate in the book.
I guess our listeners will have to read the book to find out. Well, at the end of the novel, a character is asked to rate the simulation experience, and they give it 5 stars, referencing the title. It's all about the 5 stars gathering at the end of the simulation. This is not a simulation. I would really like to give you 5 stars for this book. From here, from me, real 5 stars.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it.
So, you have been publishing the Book of Chaos recently, 5 stars before that. What can we expect next from you? More books in the Vivian series?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm already working hard on the third book in the Vivian Amberville series already. It is called The Empire of Sand. And I'm also working on another sci-fi novel, a humorous one. And that one is titled God is a Robot. And there's no reference, no relation to the neon god whatsoever. But that one is set in a world where the humans are long extinct. And these four unlikely, quirky little robots will embark on a journey to answer the questions, well, why have the humans created us? And that's also, I'm looking forward to writing that as well, to publishing that as well. I'm also working on a completely new fantasy series called 2 Millimeter World.
Excuse me, 2 millimeter world? Do I have to get my reading glasses out?
Well, you might. Well, that's the working title anyway. Indeed, the series is set on a micro fantasy world that takes place on a single grain of rice. So I'm currently building a whole mythology, languages, histories, geography, magic system, creatures, deep lore, all from scratch. So that's indeed, it's gonna be a tiny little series, but perhaps with a greater purpose. But I also, you asked me what other things I'm working on. I also wrote a slew of poems, short stories, novellas, and pretty much all of them deal with Jungian concepts, alchemical concepts, and a personal favorite of mine, states of altered consciousness.
Yes, we've indeed seen that before. This is really a recurring theme in your books. What type of feedback are you receiving from readers about your books?
Oh God. Readers seem to really love these stories. My publisher recently told me the series has created quite a massive fan base, really unexpected indeed. I personally receive hundreds, thousands of messages a week from readers who felt inspired by Vivian's journey or indeed Aurora's trials and tribulations in 5 stars. I get contacted by dozens of people whose appetite for reading and for creating, I inspired all sorts of creators. It was rekindled, this passion, by my stories. People who believe my Jungian perspective offers something refreshing, even authors who say that. I heard many readers are discussing my book's deeper layers of literatures, on literary forums. So there's also that kind of indirect feedback. For Vivian Amberville, this is, of course, only the second book out of a series of 5. So I guess only time will tell how this could develop.
Well, if I can make a prediction, with millions of fans around the world, I really believe your fan base is going to explode and go mainstream over the next few years. All the signs, I would say, are already there.
Well, from your God to the weaver's loom, I'd say. Thank you so much. I hope so too.
All right, now this pretty much wraps up my questions about your books. And if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a few personal questions.
Uh-oh, that was not really the agreement,
I know, but they're pretty innocent questions, and maybe you want to answer them anyway. Let me just start off and feel free with what you're comfortable. How do you see yourself?
You mean other than a cosmic consciousness ripped from the endless void and placed in this prison of flesh to suffer until its inevitable return to the void?
I would not have expected any different answer from Louise Blackwick, but is it really how you see yourself?
Nah, I guess not. I see myself as a writer, a storyteller, an alchemist, which, well, now that I say it out loud, it sounds incredibly pretentious. So what I do, essentially, is cut a large chunk from the collective unconscious, slap it onto the creative anvil, and start hammering away until I get a shiny new story. And then I cross my fingers, and I cross my toes, and I cross my tentacles, and all the other appendices, and I pray to the endless void that they're good stories.
All right, with all the tentacles and all, we're getting too personal, Louisa. I will go on to the next question quickly. In the extraordinary stories, people would call them dark, prophetic, maybe even a little bit twisted, like they would call it a good Black Mirror episode. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I'd say they are indeed especially 5 stars is like a Black Mirror episode that definitely wrecks your soul at the end. So, and it stays with you very long. Yeah, the kind of things I put in my stories are meant to rattle the rat cage and stir the mind soup and on occasion drop acid on you.
Why do you feel the need to stir up your readers?
Well, there's plenty of stories out there that will put you right to sleep. I don't want to do that, I guess. What I really like to do is reach deep inside your subconscious and, well, slap you a bit around, and I tell you, I want to remind you what it means to be a human and show you what it means to be alive and to experience this thing called life as an embodied consciousness built from stardust and powered by sunlight. And, well, I want my stories to become sticky to your thoughts, you know. I want them to be storm and I want them to be stillness, both in the same breath. And ultimately, I want my stories to become that gentle hum beneath the noise of your subconscious mind.
I think that in this answer, it really shows your Jungian interests and concepts that you're using in your stories. So, as a Jungian writer who knows everything about archetypes, which archetype would you say you are?
Gosh, you're really not pulling any punches today. Those are really, really hard questions. Oof. Well, I'd say the magician sage would be a fairly decent fit. I think it fits me, or maybe even the magician warrior archetype. Okay, shameless plug here, but if you want to know what that entails, what I'm talking about, check out please my Patreon page. I write these really ridiculously long and detailed articles about Jungian archetypes, alchemical principles, Hermetic philosophies, and I publish one every single week, sometimes even 2 per week. And I don't think you can find this knowledge so readily available anymore. It's really difficult. So I like to research and write these things down. And I also like to teach people how to integrate these concepts into their stories, into their art. So if you think that might be something for you, please go check it out.
And I have been preparing, of course, for this interview with my team. And we have been going on your Patreon, and you have not said anything too much here. There is indeed a huge amount of content on Jungian archetypes, Jungian concepts on your Patreon, and I think it really will benefit creators to go there. So listeners, take it, go there, check it out. I think it's really great. But we have to move on, and the next question would be, what would you say to the people who criticize your stories for being too dark?
Well, I tell them to go read something else. I mean, literature is wildly subjective. If you want to read 50 Shades of something, sure, go on if that's your thing. We're not supposed to like every book, and that's a bloody great thing. And artists, writers, as all the artists, are not above criticism. In fact, we're just as beautifully flawed as the next person. And I so happen to be the next person. So what I create can either please the mind or horripilate it. And I happen to do both. The kind of stuff I write are both very wholesome and also horrifying. It just hits you right here in your soul.
I couldn't agree more, Louisa. Would you say your storytelling is still relevant in the age of AI?
Oh, good question. I believe any product on this blue earth can benefit from better storytelling. Whether it's a video game, a movie, or a bubblegum wrapper, narratives are the engine of our culture. We are essentially a storytelling species. So yes, as long as they are still humans, there will be stories. And I don't believe AI in its current form can perform the sort of internal soul alchemy required for really, really good, brilliant, sticky in your mind storytelling. But we'll see.
I guess indeed we'll have to see what the groks of this world will bring. How would you say your life has changed since your literary success?
I feel like it has changed more how other people perceive me more than it has essentially changed me.
So you feel that other people have changed towards you.
Yes.
And now that you're in a better spot, also financially, do you experience more freedom?
Oh, gods, no. What I experience is more responsibility. Responsibility for the quality of my work, responsibility to my readership, responsibility for the authors that ask me questions, and I don't want to say something that would not be only the absolute best advice in the world. I experience crushing responsibility. I mean, sadly, there are all more people in the world to disappoint, right? And I work really, really hard not to disappoint myself most of all. So, no, nope. My freedom has merely bought me a longer chain.
I can only imagine what your art must come with also. And in that regard, what does it feel like to know millions of readers have found refuge in your stories and your books?
What does it feel like? Ooh, overwhelming. Surreal, maybe even. I feel like a moth heading towards a flame, like Icarus flying too close to the sun. I'm always constantly on the lookout, like, when am I gonna crash and burn? All I want is to tell my stories, but yeah, that's how I feel like.
Oh, that's. I hope that you don't come crashing down and that you're going to make a lot of stories more, of course. And the next question on my list here is: would you say your sudden popularity has brought you more romantic suitors?
Romantic suitors? Why do you ask? Are you having an interest?
No, no. I'm just well. Look, my team prepared me some questions. I'm just reading them in the order they were written.
Okay, then read the next one.
Okay. I'm sorry. What's something you enjoy doing for fun?
Lots and lots of things. Reading books and playing video games mostly. I'm actually pretty obsessed with video games, in fact. I've been obsessed with games since the early 90s. I just barely have time for them now, but I really, really, really love them.
Oh, really? Then, okay, I'm just gonna ask it anyway. Which are your top 10 favorite video games right now?
Top 10 favorite games. Okay. The Witcher franchise, Factorio, Stardew Valley, Terraria, Undertale, Age of Empires, Don't Starve, Elden Ring, everything what Jedi Games ever releases. I also really love retro games, so like old school games. So basically pretty much everything Lucas Arts or Lucasfilm in the past, everything they have ever made, ever released. I love it. I also love Sierra games. I play an embarrassing number of video games. My knowledge of that is so extensive.
Is that you mentioned Stardew Valley, but are those not the two chickens from Stardew Valley?
Yes, indeed they are. You notice that. Yeah, there are only two of them, but I have more. I have probably all the chicken. I collected every little plushie, every little. I am so much into this Stardew Valley and other video games memorabilia. I collect everything.
It's maybe too bad that you don't have that much time, but you mentioned that you had more hobbies. Let's talk about that.
Yes, I have a ton of hobbies. I love to knit, to crochet, I love clay sculpting. which basically what I use it mostly is that I imagine my little creatures, my little fantasy creatures, and I make little puppets out of clay. And then what I do is I put them on the computer and I start painting them in, digitally. So there you go, another hobby, digital painting. Playing guitar, I really enjoy making music. I also love archery. I would say archery is my official sport right now. That, and maybe also taking very, very long walks in nature. You probably saw it coming in, but I live in a pretty heavily wooded area, so I like to keep myself active by walking 10 to 15 kilometers a day. So I also get a lot of good ideas for my books that way, so there's extra benefit.
I have indeed noticed on the way here from the airport, it is indeed not only very far away from the airport, but also a lot greener than the airport. A lot of trees. It's a very beautiful area of the Netherlands. You live in a very beautiful place. And we are coming towards the end of our talk, of our interview, and I would like to ask you some quick questions, rapid fire questions, as they say, just to get the audience some quick facts about you.
Okay, sure, let's do it.
Your favorite color?
Other than black, probably crimson.
Could have known. Favorite author?
Oh, I would say Terry Pratchett.
All right. Favorite film?
I would say The Prestige by Christopher Nolan. It's pretty much a perfect film.
Very good choice. Favorite science fiction film?
Science fiction film? The Minority Report.
Favorite fantasy film?
You know what I'm gonna say. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, obviously by Peter Jackson.
I would not have expected anything else from you, Louisa. Your favorite music band?
Well, you can't tell by my clothes, but I'm a heavy metal kind of gal, so. But I'm gonna go with Muse. Yeah.
Nice pick, Muse. Your favorite food?
Ooh, I would say okonomiyaki, sukiyaki, anything Japanese really. It's really healthy and low in calories, and absolutely delicious as well.
What are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of writing 5 stars. I feel like that book is the most me of everything I've written so far. But I'm also really proud of the Vivian Amberville series, especially the Book of Chaos. I poured my heart and soul into it. I alchemized my soul into it.
And that's really something to be proud of, yes, for sure. What's your lifetime dream?
To live the world in a better state than I have found it. And I would love to do that with books, if possible.
Well, you're doing that. I would say keep it up. And your biggest fear?
Not living up to my highest potential.
Okay. And your key to success?
Detachment from all outcomes.
Ooh, that's deep. That's deep. Let's leave it at that. Where can my listeners find your books?
Some of my books can be found in bookstores and libraries in the Netherlands, if you're from the Netherlands. If they're not there, please ask your local librarian or bookshop seller to include them. Sometimes they need a little nudge to include my books because they're English books. For international readers, there is my website, Louise Blackwick website, the Vivian Amberville official website, and all the publishers' channels, all the websites from the publisher. And all of them ship internationally to every corner of the multiverse. So my books are pretty much everywhere at this point. Online, you should find them in every possible format: hardback, paperback, ebook, Kindle. I even have these experience packages, which come with their own collection of tea, candles, incense, Dungeons and Dragons, special cards, special dice, and all sorts of other goodies and merchandise.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I completely forgot about that. You have your own personal tea brand, don't you?
Yes, I have my own personal tea brand. It sounds funny. But yeah, I usually sell the tea with the books. So the tea can be purchased separately as well. Also on my website, I created all the flavors myself, sustainably obtained and organic and everything. The idea was to create a more, let's say, immersive experience. So reading my books, the scented candles also add to this experience.
I see you brought a sample of your tea. And I saw that for your sci-fi novel 5 stars you created 5 flavors of tea, one for each day of the apocalypse. Can you maybe show us real quick?
Sure. What I have here is one of the 5 fresh mixes of tea for 5 stars. This one is called the Neon Gods Algorithm, and it is a tea you must drink at the very start of the book because it's only day 1, of the apocalypse. There's 5 days before it ends. I'm just going to read the label and what it says here real quick. Pressed to your chest, you hold the most precious thing in the world. The neon god's many eyes watch you through millions of black screens. There is no escaping his algorithm. You are 5 gold stars away from a ticket off this dark-ridden earth. The world, as you know it, will end in 5 days.
This is very beautiful and very accurate for the first chapter, if you ask me. And when I came in here earlier today, we drank tea before we started the interview. And am I correct? Was this the tea that you served us?
That was exactly it, yes. There was the tea.
It's delicious. It's really great tea to drink and get immersed in this book and in this story. And I also understood you are working on a Dungeons and Dragons game set for the Vivian Amberville universe.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, I have already created certain parts, certain aspects of the game, such as these cards, for instance. Maybe I can show them a little bit. So far, there are these 26 D&D Dungeons and Dragons cards. They pertain to 26 very important main characters from the Vivian Amberville Dark Fantasy series. The cards contain character descriptions, skills, magic systems, alignments, and they're all 100% book accurate. So other parts such as maps, campaigns, scenarios, and the Dungeon Master Manual, I still have to develop. But if you're a passionate D&D player and, or simply a collector, you can already obtain the first 10 cards by purchasing the 2 Vivian Amberville experience packages. Each package comes with its own luxury hardback, trademark tea, candles, 5 specific D&D character cards like these, and lots of other goodies and merchandise. So you basically get everything.
Wow. So just to recap this, if you buy both experience packages from Vivian Amberville, you get both books in the hardcover edition, luxury edition, all the trademark teas for Vivian Amberville, all the types of candles, and the merchandise, and the first 10 special Dungeons and Dragons cards.
Yes, that's exactly right. Thank you so much for the summary. You get absolutely everything if you buy the 2 experience packages, yes.
May I ask you very quickly to show us maybe 2 or 3 of these cards and see what characters we have here?
Yes, sure. Let's see if you recognize some of them. Oh, let's do an easy one, because otherwise... let's try this one.
Wow, that looks very much like Vivian. And the other guy, Wolfgar.
Yeah, that's Wolfgar. Yes, indeed. Allspice.
Allspice, indeed, yes. Gold.
That's gold. Yeah, very good.
So
Antoon, yeah.
Antoon. This
This
is all.
Cap, your favorite.
Yes. Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, he's cute now. But, he has multiple shapes. He can shapeshift.
Yeah, but I guess for the card you could only have
Only one
picture.
Yes.
Maybe in the future you can make a holographic card to shapeshift him on the card.
Great idea.
What an idea. All right. One of the last questions on my list. If readers want to know more about you, if my listeners want to know more about you, where can they find you online?
Well, I'm most active on Patreon right now, where I continue to publish weekly, bi-weekly, these monstrous long articles on Jungian writing, and I also post a lot of behind the scenes and a lot of nuggets of advice for writers and creators and artists if you're interested. And a lot of them are free, and I welcome everyone, and you can even chat. We can chat together. And I'm also pretty active on Blue Sky right now, so I welcome you there if you want to be there. Let's be friends.
We will link all these socials in the description for our listeners to get to you, to interact with you. And let me say thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, for letting us into your home, having a great talk. And of course, thank you for the tea. Delicious. It was a great talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming all this way to see me. Thank you.